What if the biggest distraction in your life isn't your phone, your job, or the noise around you, but the noise inside you? Stay with me until the end, because the final lessons will truly change how you see focus, success, and your life before you try to control your time, your habits, or your distractions. You have to understand this truth. Most people don't struggle with focus because they are lazy or undisciplined. They struggle because they are unclear. When your vision is blurred, your energy scatters. When your purpose is undefined, every opportunity looks urgent. Every opinion sounds important, and every distraction feels justified. And slowly, without even realizing it, you start living a life that is busy on the outside but empty on the inside. I remember a phase in my life when everything looked successful from the outside. Projects, travel, recognition, constant movement. But inside, there was a quiet question that wouldn't leave me. Why does this still feel unfocused? The answer was simple but uncomfortable. I wasn't lacking effort. I was lacking alignment. I was moving fast, but I wasn't moving intentionally. And that is the silent trap so many of us fall into. We fill our calendars, but forget to fill our direction. We chase opportunities before asking if they belong to our story. We say yes because we are afraid to miss out, not because it truly matters to us. And the result? Our attention becomes fragmented, like sunlight scattered through clouds instead of concentrated into a beam, powerful enough to create change. Focus begins the moment you decide what actually deserves your life, not what looks impressive, not what others expect, not what social media celebrates, but what feels deeply, quietly true to you. Think of your mind like a garden. If you don't choose what you want to grow, weeds will grow by default. Notifications, comparisons, other people's dreams, endless information, they will fill the space where your purpose should live. Clarity is the act of planting intentionally. It's asking yourself the questions most people avoid. What kind of life am I really building? What matters enough for me to give my time, my energy, my attention? What do I want my days to stand for? Because here is something powerful. Your life is nothing but your attention, repeated over time. Whatever you focus on consistently becomes your reality. If you focus on fear, your world shrinks. If you focus on comparison, your confidence weakens. If you focus on purpose, your life expands. But purpose doesn't shout, it whispers. And in a world full of noise, that whisper gets lost unless you pause long enough to hear it. Many people keep themselves distracted because clarity requires courage. The moment you become clear about what truly matters, you also have to accept what doesn't. You have to say no. You have to let go. You have to stop living for approval and start living with intention. And that's uncomfortable because clarity simplifies your life and simplicity removes your excuses. When you know your priority, you can't pretend everything else is equally important anymore. That's why so many people say they want focus, but what they actually avoid is the responsibility that clarity brings. Let me give you a simple example. Imagine you're standing in a room with 10 doors open. Each one leads to a different opportunity, a different path, a different version of success. At first, it feels exciting. Endless possibilities. But after a while, something changes. You keep walking halfway into one room, then stepping back to check another. You start something, then abandon it. You invest energy, then second guess yourself. And eventually, you are exhausted, not because you walked too far, but because you never committed to one direction. That is what a lack of clarity feels like. Now imagine closing 9 of those doors. Suddenly your path is obvious. Your energy has direction. Your focus becomes natural, not forced. Clarity doesn't limit your life. It liberates your energy. And here's the spiritual truth behind it. Attention is devotion. Whatever you give your attention to, you are worshipping with your time, your life force, your presence. So ask yourself honestly, what are you devoted to right now? Distraction, approval, comfort, or growth, purpose, and meaning? Because focus is not something you build through willpower alone. It grows automatically when your heart knows why something matters. When your purpose is clear, discipline becomes easier. When your direction is meaningful, distractions lose their attraction. When your work feels connected to something bigger, then your ego, your mind stops wandering so easily. This is why some people can work for hours with deep concentration while others struggle to stay focused for minutes. It's not about intelligence. It's about emotional connection to what they're doing. Your mind protects what it believes is meaningful. So if you find yourself constantly distracted, don't just ask, how do I focus more? Ask a deeper question. Does this matter enough to me? And if not, what actually does? This is where your inner work begins. Not with productivity apps or strict schedules, but with self-awareness. Spend time writing, reflecting, sitting in silence, asking yourself uncomfortable but honest questions. What kind of work makes me lose track of time? What kind of impact feels meaningful to me? What values do I want my life to represent? What kind of person do I want to become in the next 5 years? Because clarity is not found in the noise of the world. It's discovered in the quiet conversations you have with yourself. And once you find even a small sense of direction, something powerful happens. Your energy stops leaking. Your decisions become faster. Your priorities become obvious. Your confidence grows. Not because you know everything, but because you know where you're going. And when you know where you're going, distractions feel smaller. But I want you to stay with me because the lessons ahead are even more powerful. And if this truth about clarity is already opening something inside you, what comes next will change the way you understand your energy, your attention, and your entire relationship with distraction. Don't skip ahead. Don't leave early. Because what we're building here is not just focus. We're building a way of living with intention. And you'll regret missing the deeper truths that are coming. But before we move forward, I want you to carry this with you. Clarity is not a one-time decision. It's a daily practice. Your priorities will evolve. Your goals will change. Your life will grow. But the habit of returning to yourself, of asking what truly matters, of choosing your direction consciously, that habit is what protects your focus in a world designed to steal it. Every morning, you get to choose your attention. Every day, you decide what deserves your life. And every time you choose clarity over chaos, intention over impulse, purpose over distraction, you take your power back. Because the truth is, the world is not going to become less distracting. The noise isn't going away. The expectations won't slow down. The comparisons will always exist. But when your vision becomes clear, the noise stops controlling you. You hear it, but you're no longer pulled by it. You see opportunities, but you're no longer tempted by all of them. You stay grounded, steady, focused, not because the world is quiet, but because your direction is loud. And that is where real focus begins. Not in controlling your environment, but in knowing your purpose so deeply that your energy naturally flows toward it. And trust me, what comes next will show you how to protect that energy. Because clarity is only the first step, and the next lesson will reveal the powerful truth about where your attention goes and how it quietly shapes the life you're creating. Stay with me. The final lessons are where the real transformation begins. If clarity is the compass of your life, then attention is the fuel that moves you forward. Because here is a truth. Most people underestimate your energy follows your attention. Quietly, faithfully, and without judgment. Whatever you give your focus to, Your thoughts, your worries, your comparisons, your goals, your fears, your dreams grow stronger inside you. Attention is not just mental focus. It is life force. It is the invisible currency you are spending every moment of every day. And the question is not whether you are spending it, the question is where. Think about your day from the moment you wake up. Before your feet even touch the ground, your mind may already be scrolling. Messages, news, social media, other people's lives, other people's opinions. And without realizing it, you have already invested your first emotional energy into comparison, urgency, noise, and reaction. By the time you start your actual work, your attention is already fragmented, your mind already tired, your emotional state already influenced by things that have nothing to do with your purpose. And then you wonder why it feels hard to concentrate, why your motivation feels low, why your energy disappears so quickly. The truth is simple but powerful. Distraction is not just stealing your time, it is draining your emotional energy. Imagine your attention as sunlight. When sunlight is scattered, it warms gently but creates no impact. But when that same light is focused through a lens, it becomes powerful enough to create fire. Your life works the same way. Scattered attention creates exhaustion. Focused attention creates transformation. I learned this lesson during a phase when I felt constantly busy but strangely unproductive. I was responding to messages immediately, checking updates, reacting to every opportunity, every piece of feedback, every external signal. My day was full, my schedule was packed, but at the end of it, I felt like my real priorities hadn't moved at all. And then it hit me. I wasn't managing my time poorly. I was managing my attention carelessly. I was allowing the world to decide what deserved my energy. And when you don't choose where your attention goes, the world will choose for you, and the world's priorities are rarely aligned with your purpose. Social media wants your attention. News wants your attention. Other people's expectations want your attention. Even your own fears want your attention. But your dreams, your growth, your long-term vision, those things require intentional attention. They don't fight for it. They wait for you to choose them. This is why two people can have the same amount of time, but completely different results. One person spends hours reacting, checking, scrolling, worrying, comparing, overthinking. The other spends those same hours creating, learning, building, growing. The difference is not time. The difference is attention. And here is the deeper spiritual truth. Whatever you repeatedly focus on becomes your emotional reality. If you constantly focus on what you lack, you will feel inadequate, even if your life is full. If you focus on what others are doing, you will feel behind, even if you're making progress. If you focus on problems, your mind will see obstacles everywhere. But if you focus on growth, your mind begins to see opportunities. If you focus on gratitude, your heart feels abundance. If you focus on purpose, your energy becomes steady and directed. Your attention shapes your perception, and your perception shapes your perception. And your perception shapes your life. But most people don't realize how small everyday attention leaks slowly drain their power. It's the habit of checking your phone every few minutes. It's replaying someone's criticism in your mind for hours. It's comparing your progress to someone else's highlight reel. It's worrying about outcomes that haven't even happened yet. Each of these moments feels small, harmless, temporary. But attention is cumulative. Every small distraction pulls a little energy away from your focus, your creativity, your emotional stability, and by the end of the day, you're not just tired, you're empty. That's why protecting your attention is not a productivity strategy. It's an act of self-respect. You have to start asking yourself a powerful daily question. Is this worthy of my energy? Not everything that demands your attention deserves it. Not every notification is urgent. Not every opinion matters. Not every opportunity is aligned. Not every thought is useful. Your mind is a space you must guard, because attention is like one atom. It nourishes whatever it touches. If you water fear, fear grows. If you water doubt, doubt grows. If you water distraction, distraction becomes your default state. But if you water discipline, clarity, learning, and purpose, your life begins to expand in those directions. One of the most transformative habits you can build is intentional attention. Choosing consciously what you allow into your mental space. Starting your day with your priorities before the world's demands. Giving uninterrupted time to what matters most. Training your mind to return again and again to your focus whenever it wanders, and it will wanders. That's human. Focus is not about never getting distracted. It's about noticing quickly and gently, bringing your attention back again and again and again. Every time you do that, you strengthen your mental muscle. Every time you choose your purpose over distraction, you reclaim a piece of your power, and over time, something remarkable happens. Your mind becomes calmer, your work becomes deeper, your confidence grows, because you begin to trust your ability to direct your own energy instead of reacting to everything around you. But stay with me, because if this lesson is already shifting the way you see your attention, the lessons ahead are even more powerful. And you'll regret missing the final ones, where we uncover the emotional and spiritual roots of distraction that most people never understand. Because here's the truth: managing your attention externally is only the beginning. The deeper transformation happens when you understand why your mind seeks distraction in the first place. But before we go there, I want you to remember this. Your life is not built by your intentions. It is built by your attention. What you think about repeatedly becomes what you feel. What you feel repeatedly shapes what you do. And what you do repeatedly becomes who you become. So if you want a focused life, don't just organize your schedule. Organize your attention. Choose what you read. Choose what you watch. Choose what conversations you engage in. Choose what thoughts you entertain. Because every choice is a vote for the person you are becoming. And the world will keep trying to pull your attention in 1,000 directions. That will never stop. But when you become intentional about where your energy flows, something powerful happens. Distractions don't disappear, but they lose their control over you. Your mind becomes anchored. Your energy becomes protected. Your progress becomes steady. And this is only the second step of the journey. What comes next goes deeper than habits or productivity. It reveals the emotional truth behind why we escape into distraction at all. Stay until the final points, because this is where real transformation begins. And once you understand the deeper layers, you won't just manage your attention, you'll master your inner world. If you've ever told yourself, I just need to stay off my phone, or I need more discipline to avoid distractions, I want you to pause for a moment and consider a deeper truth. Distraction is rarely a technology problem. It is an emotional one. Most of the time, we are not escaping into our screens, our notifications, or endless scrolling because they are interesting. We escape because they are easier than what we're feeling. Distraction is comfort. It is avoidance dressed as entertainment. It is the mind's way of protecting you from discomfort, uncertainty, self-doubt, or the quiet fear that whispers, what if I'm not good enough? Think about the moments where you find it hardest to focus. It's usually not when the task is simple or familiar. It's when you're about to start something important, when the work matters, when the outcome feels uncertain, when your effort will reveal your true level, your real progress, your actual potential. That is when your mind suddenly remembers messages to check, videos to watch, emails to refresh, rooms to clean, anything to do except the one thing that could move your life forward. Because focus requires exposure, and exposure requires courage. When you sit down to work on your dream, you are not just facing a task, you are facing your fear of failure, your fear of judgment, your fear discovering your limits. And the mind, by nature, seeks safety, so it offers you a way out. Just 5 minutes on your phone, just one quick check, just a short break. Times before you know it, the moment of courage has passed. This is why willpower alone really works. You can block apps, turn off notifications, create strict schedules, but if the emotional resistance is still there, your mind will find another escape. Because the real battle is not between you and your phone. It is between you and your discomfort. I remember times in my own journey when I delayed decisions, postponed projects, or kept myself busy with smaller tasks. Not because I didn't care, but because I cared so much that the possibility of failing felt overwhelming. Success looks glamorous from the outside, but the path toward it is filled with uncomfortable moments, rejection, uncertainty, self-doubt, silence, waiting, trying again when nothing seems to work, and distraction becomes a temporary shelter from those emotions. But here is the truth that changed everything for me. Growth lives inside the discomfort you're avoiding. Every time you escape from the hard thing, you don't just lose time, you lose momentum, confidence, and trust in yourself. But every time you stay, even when it feels uncomfortable, even when your mind wants to run, you strengthen something powerful inside you. You build emotional endurance. You teach yourself that discomfort is not danger. You train your mind to stay instead of escape. Think of it like a muscle. The first time you sit with uncertainty, it feels heavy. Your mind wanders. Your body feels restless. You want relief, but if you breathe, return to the task, and stay a little longer than last time, something shifts. The discomfort doesn't disappear immediately, but your tolerance for it grows. And over time, what once felt overwhelming becomes normal. This is the hidden skill behind focus. The ability to sit with temporary discomfort for the sake of long-term growth. And the discomfort comes in many forms. Sometimes it's boredom, sometimes it's confusion, because you don't know the next step. Sometimes it's the slow progress that makes you question whether your effort is working. Sometimes it's the silence that comes when no one is praising you, noticing you, or validating your journey. In a world that rewards instant results and constant stimulation, the quiet, slow, uncertain path of real growth feels almost unnatural. So the mind looks for stimulation, for quick dopamine, for something that feels good immediately. But here is the spiritual perspective I want you to hold on to. Distraction is not the enemy, it is a signal. It is your mind telling you, this feels uncomfortable, this feels uncertain, this feels risky. Instead of fighting the distraction with frustration, pause and ask yourself a deeper question. What am I trying not to feel right now? But it's fear. Maybe it's fear. Maybe it's self-doubt. Maybe it's the pressure of your own expectations. Maybe it's the weight of how much this goal means to you. When you become aware of the emotion behind the distraction, something powerful happens. You stop seeing yourself as weak or undisciplined. You start seeing yourself as human. And from that place of awareness, you can respond with compassion instead of avoidance. Take a breath. Acknowledge the discomfort. Remind yourself, this feeling is part of the process. This is what growth feels like. Then return to your focus, gently, without self-criticism. Because the goal is not to eliminate the discomfort. The goal is to build a relationship with it. The most focused people in the world are not the ones who never feel resistance. They are the ones who feel it, and continue anyway. They understand that discomfort is temporary, but the progress it creates is permanent. And here's something most people don't realize. The more meaningful your goal is, the more emotional resistance you will feel. Because meaningful work matters, and when something matters, your fears become louder. That's why distraction often increases right before a breakthrough, right before a big step, right before real progress. Your mind senses change, and change feels unsafe. So if you have been feeling more distracted lately, don't just assume you're losing discipline. You might actually be standing at the edge of growth. Stay with the work, stay with the discomfort, stay with the uncertainty. Because on the other side of that emotional resistance is confidence, the kind that comes from proving to yourself that you can face what feels hard. And stay with me here, because if this lesson is opening your eyes to the emotional roots of distraction, the lessons ahead are even more powerful. We are moving into deeper truths about discipline, self-respect, and the inner strength that turns focus into a way of life. Don't leave before the final points. You'll regret missing where this journey leads. Because what we're building is not just productivity. We are building emotional resilience. We're building the ability to stay present with your purpose even when your feelings are uncertain. And that is what separates people who start from people who finish. So the next time you feel the urge to escape, to scroll, to check, to avoid, don't react immediately. Pause. Notice the feeling underneath. Take one deep breath. Then choose to stay with your work for just 5 more minutes. Not forever. Just 5 minutes. Most of the time, that small decision is enough to break the cycle of avoidance, enough to rebuild your momentum, enough to remind your mind that discomfort is not something to run from. It is something you can move through. And every time you do this, you reclaim a piece of your power. You prove to yourself that your emotions don't control your direction, that your purpose is stronger than your temporary discomfort, that you are capable of staying present with your growth even when it feels uncertain. This is where real focus begins, not in controlling your environment, but in strengthening your emotional courage. And as we move forward, you'll discover something even deeper. Discipline is not about forcing yourself to work harder. It's about learning to respect yourself enough to keep the promises you make to your own future. Stay with me until the final lessons, because this is where true transformation unfolds. And once you understand what comes next, you won't just manage distraction, you'll become the kind of person it no allow on the controls. If you truly want to understand focus, you have to understand discipline. And I want to change the way you see it, because most people think discipline is harsh, restrictive, even punishing. They imagine it as forcing yourself to wake up early, pushing through exhaustion, denying comfort, and living under constant pressure. But real discipline is not self-punishment. Real discipline is self-respect in action. It is the quiet, daily decision to honor your own potential. It is the way you tell yourself through your actions, my life matters, my dreams matter, my future is worth showing up for. And this is where everything changes. Because the moment discipline becomes an act of respect instead of force, it stops feeling heavy and starts feeling empowering. Think about someone you truly respect. A mentor, a parent, a teacher, someone who believed in you. When they trusted you, when they showed up for you, when they kept their word, it made you feel safe, valued, seen. Now imagine building that same relationship with yourself. Every time you say you'll wake up at a certain time, and you do, you build trust. Every time you promise yourself 1 hour of focused work, and you follow through, you build confidence. Every time you choose your long-term growth over short-term comfort, you strengthen your self-worth. Discipline is not about controlling your life. It's about keeping promises to yourself. And confidence, the real kind, doesn't come from motivation or external success. It comes from evidence, from showing yourself again and again that you can rely on you, I remember a phase in my life when I was waiting to feel motivated before taking action. I told myself I would work harder when I felt inspired, when the timing felt right, when the energy came naturally. But the truth is, motivation is unpredictable. Some days you feel driven, other days you don't. And if your progress depends on how you feel, your life will move forward only on your best days. Discipline changes that. Discipline says, you vote just A, whether I feel like it or not, because my future is more important than my mood. And the beautiful thing is, once you start showing up consistently, motivation follows you. Action creates momentum. Momentum creates belief. Belief creates energy. But it begins with the quiet decision to show up even when it's inconvenient, even when it's uncomfortable, even when no one is watching. Because discipline is not about performing for the world. It is about becoming someone you trust when you're alone. Imagine your future self standing in front of you right now. Stronger, calmer, more confident, living the life you want. That version of you is built by small daily choices, not big dramatic changes, not sudden bursts of inspiration, but small acts repeated consistently. Waking up when you said you would, finishing what you started, protecting your focus, saying no to distractions, resting intentionally instead of escaping mindlessly. These choices may look ordinary, but over time, they shape your identity. And identity is more powerful than motivation. When you begin to see yourself as someone who shows up, someone who follows through, someone who respects their own time and energy, your behavior changes naturally. And you don't negotiate with distractions as much. You don't abandon your goals at the first sign of discomfort, because you're no longer trying to act disciplined. You times you're disciplined. And here's something important to understand. Discipline is not about being perfect. It's about being consistent. There will be days when you slip, days when you procrastinate, days when you lose focus. The difference between people who grow and people who stay stuck is not that one group never fails. It's that they return faster. They don't turn one missed day into a missed week. They don't turn one mistake into a story about being weak or incapable. They simply come back again and again. That return, that willingness to start fresh without self-judgment is one of the highest forms of self-respect. Because discipline without compassion, because burnout. But discipline with self-awareness becomes strength. Think of it like building a relationship. If you break trust with someone you care about, you don't destroy the relationship forever, you repair it. You show up differently the next time. You rebuild consistency. The same is true with yourself. Every time you come back to your commitment, you strengthen your inner foundation, and over time, something powerful happens. Your mind becomes calmer. Your decisions become easier. Because you've removed the constant negotiation between comfort and growth. You've decided who you are. And once that decision is made, focus becomes natural. But there is a deeper spiritual layer to discipline that most people overlook. Discipline is how you honor the life you've been given. Your time, your energy, your talent, these are gifts. And how you use them is a reflection of your gratitude. When you waste your days in distraction, you're not just losing productivity, you're losing presence. You're losing the opportunity to become who you're capable of becoming. But when you live with discipline, you're saying, I respect this life. I respect this opportunity. I will not take it for granted. And that mindset changes everything. Discipline stops feeling like reassure and starts feeling like purpose. It becomes a form of gratitude expressed through action. And if this idea is resonating with you, stay with me, because the lessons ahead are even more powerful. And you'll regret missing the final ones, where everything comes together. we're moving toward the deeper foundations of inner strength, the kind that keeps you focused even when life becomes chaotic, uncertain, or overwhelming. But before we move forward, I want you to carry this with you. The life you want is built in the moments when no one is watching, not the big achievements, not the public wins, but the quiet choices. Closing the app when you're tempted to scroll, starting the work when you'd rather delay, finishing the task when your energy drops, resting intentionally instead of escaping. These are the moments where your future is shaped. And every time you choose discipline, you send a powerful message to yourself. I am someone who shows up. I am someone who follows through. I am someone who respects my own potential. That message builds confidence faster than any success ever could. Because success can come and go, but self-trust stays. And once you trust yourself, distractions lose their power. Doubt loses its voice. Fear loses its control. You become steady, grounded, focused. Not because life is easy, but because your foundation is strong. And this is only one step in the journey. What comes next goes even deeper, beyond discipline, beyond effort, into the quiet spaces where true clarity and inner power are created. Stay with me until the final points, because this is where real transformation begins, and the lessons ahead will show you how to protect your mind, your energy, and your purpose in a world that constantly tries to pull you away from yourself. There is a truth about focus that many people overlook because it feels too simple to be powerful. And that truth is this: your environment is silently shaping your future every single day. You may believe that focus is purely a matter of willpower, discipline, or mental strength, but the reality is much deeper. Your surroundings are constantly influencing your thoughts, your emotions, your energy, and ultimately your direction. The people you spend time with, the conversations you listen to, the content you consume, the physical space you work in, even the emotional atmosphere around you, all of it becomes the invisible architecture of your mind. And if that environment is filled with noise, negativity, comparison, distraction, or chaos, then staying focused will feel like swimming against a powerful current. But when your environment supports growth, clarity, and intention, focus stops feeling like a struggle and starts feeling natural. Think of a seed. A seed doesn't struggle to grow because it lacks motivation. It grows based on the soil, the light, the water, the conditions around it. Put the same seed in fertile soil and it thrives. Put it in poor conditions and it struggles, no matter how strong its potential is. You are no different. Your potential is the seed. Your environment is the soil. And the quality of your focus depends greatly on where you choose to plant yourself. I learned this lesson in a very personal way during a time when I felt constantly drained, distracted, and emotionally scattered. At first, I blamed my schedule, my workload, my responsibilities. But when I looked honestly at my daily environment, I saw something else. I was surrounded by conversations filled with complaints and doubt. I was consuming content that triggered comparison and anxiety. My days began with other people's priorities and ended with mental noise. And slowly, without realizing it, my mind had absorbed that energy. Because here is something powerful to understand. Human beings are emotional mirrors. We absorb the energy around us. If you spend your time with people who constantly focus on problems, you begin to see obstacles everywhere. If your environment is filled with distraction and instant gratification, your attention span weakens. If your daily inputs are filled with comparison, your confidence quietly erodes. But the opposite is also true. When you surround yourself with people who talk about growth, possibility, learning, and solutions, your thinking expands. When your environment supports focus, a clean workspace, quiet time, intentional routines, your mind begins to settle. When you consume content that educates, inspires, or challenges you, your perspective strengthens. Environment doesn't just influence your behavior, it shapes your identity over time. That's why protecting your environment is not selfish, it's necessary. And this is where many people struggle emotionally, because protecting your environment often requires difficult choices. It may mean spending less time with people who drain your energy. It may mean stepping away from conversations that revolve around negativity or gossip. It may mean limiting your exposure to social media that triggers comparison instead of inspiration. It may even mean creating physical boundaries, turning off notifications, organizing your space, scheduling time where you are unreachable. And sometimes, the hardest part is accepting that not everyone can come with you into your next level of growth. Because growth changes your standards, growth changes your priorities, growth changes what you tolerate. But here is the deeper spiritual truth. Protecting your environment is an act of self-respect, not rejection of others. You are not distancing yourself because you think you are better. You are creating space because you are becoming better. And focus requires that space. Your mind cannot build something meaningful while constantly absorbing noise that pulls it in the opposite direction. Think about your day like a mental diet. Just as your body reflects what you eat, your mind reflects what you consume. If your daily diet includes hours of random scrolling, negative news, comparison-driven content, and chaotic conversations, your mental state will reflect confusion, anxiety, and distraction. But if your inputs include learning, meaningful conversations, silence, and intentional content, your mind becomes clearer, calmer, and more focused. One of the most powerful changes you can make is to become intentional about your inputs. Ask yourself regularly, does this environment support the person I am trying to become? Do these conversations energize me or drain me? Does this content expand my thinking or shrink my confidence? Because every input is shaping your inner world, whether you realize it or not. And here's something important. Your environment is not only people and content. It's also your physical space. Cluttered spaces create cluttered thinking. Constant noise keeps your mind in a reactive state. But when your space is organized, calm, and intentional, your mind begins to mirror that order. Even small changes matter. A clean desk, a quiet morning routine, a dedicated space for focused work. These are not aesthetic choices. They are psychological signals to your brain that this is a place for clarity and purpose. And over time, our environment begins to train your mind automatically. But stay with me here, because if this lesson is opening your eyes, the lessons ahead are even more powerful. And you'll regret missing the final one, where everything we've talked about comes together into a deeper understanding of purpose and direction. Because protecting your environment is not just about productivity. It's about protecting your energy. Your energy is limited each day. And every negative conversation, every unnecessary comparison, every piece of mental noise takes a small amount of it. Most people don't lose focus because they lack discipline. They lose focus because their energy is constantly being drained by environments that don't support their growth. But when you begin to protect your energy intentionally, something powerful happens. You feel lighter, clearer, more stable. Your decisions become easier because your mind is not overwhelmed by conflicting influences. Your motivation becomes more consistent because your environment reinforces your goals instead of competing with them. And gradually, focus stops feeling like something you have to force. It becomes your natural state. But I want to be honest with you. Building a supportive environment doesn't happen overnight. It's a process of small, conscious choices, choosing one positive conversation over a negative one, choosing learning over mindless consumption, choosing silence over constant noise, choosing growth over comfort. Each of these choices is a quiet investment in your future self. And over time, those small investments compound into something powerful. A life where your surroundings pull you forward instead of holding you back. So look around you honestly. Look at your digital environment, your physical space, your social circle, your daily inputs. Because your future is not only shaped by your goals, it is shaped by the atmosphere you live in every day. And if you truly want to stay focused in a distracting world, you must become the guardian of your environment. Protect what enters your mind. Protect what surrounds your energy. Protect the space where your growth is happening. Because once your environment aligns with your purpose, focus becomes easier, progress becomes faster, and your inner world becomes stronger. And this is where we are getting close to the heart of everything. Stay with me until the final lesson, because what comes next will reveal the most powerful truth of all. The deeper purpose behind focus itself. And once you understand that, you won't just protect your environment. You'll begin to live with a level of clarity and direction that distraction simply cannot compete with.